Alright fam, so today I'm coming at you with the Reader Problems book tag. I was tagged to do this tag by the wonderful Game of Tomes, who I will be meeting both of them at Book Nut Fest, which is in like a week, and I'm like super fucking excited for it. The original was created by About to Read, and I will link both Game of Tomes and About to Read in the description down below. Alright, so the first question is, you have 20,000 books on your TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? Well, if I am deciding right now, I would pick something that isn't a contemporary, because I'm not really feeling contemporaries at the moment. It's not because I don't like contemporaries, because you bitch loves contemporaries. I just want something else right now, because I've been reading a lot of contemporaries, so like, I want to switch it up, which is why I read like Scythe and Renegades, because those aren't contemporary, and then I read Gentleman's Guide and Lady's Guide, because those are not really, that's not contemporary either, it's like historical fantasy. And then I read a bunch of graphic novels, which some of them were contemporary, like Heartstopper is a contemporary graphic novel, but it's Heartstopper and it's adorable, so that doesn't really count because it's a graphic novel. But right now I am saving my contemporaries for when I feel more into them, and so right now I would probably pick up something like, I don't know, more fantastical. Something I need to read the second book in the Scythe series. So maybe that's what I'd pick up next. Hopefully. Well, my library hasn't gotten it to me yet because there are holds. But one day. I also have a hold for Sky Without Stars, which is also not contemporary. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna probably go get Volume 3 of Young Avengers and The Wicked and the Divine at the library today, and I'm gonna read those. But yeah, I don't know. This has been a very rambly answer to say that it depends on my mood. Because right now I'm not in the mood to read contemporaries, but I do like reading contemporaries. Anyway, number 2 is you're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit or are you committed? Okay, I have 2 examples of this. One is the 5th season, which I did DNF, and I wasn't even halfway through it. I was like 50 pages into it, because the second person just drove me up the wall. The second example I can think of is The Devouring Gray, which I just read, which I wasn't loving it. I ended up giving it 4 stars because it was like not too bad, but like didn't love it. So in that case, if the story is like good enough and like it's not written in second person, then I would probably finish it. But if it's written in second person and I've gotten halfway through it, I'm just gonna DNF it. And if the story is like boring as fuck and the characters aren't relatable, or like I don't like the characters, rather, the characters don't have to be relatable for me to like them. But if I don't like the characters and I don't like the story, yeah, I'll probably DNF it too. But if the story does have some merit to it and I enjoy the story somewhat, I will probably finish it, a la The Devouring Gray, which... Number 3 is the end of the year is coming up and you're so close but so far away on your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? So I've passed my Goodreads challenge. I passed it back in like May, because I only set it to 30 books. So yeah, I read 20 books alone in February and March, so it wasn't hard to surpass my 30 books reading challenge. I've actually read 50 something now because of all the graphic novels that I just read. So my answer to this, if for some reason that I set an unachievable Goodreads goal for myself because I wanted to be disappointed, I would just read a bunch of graphic novels. Number 4 is the covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? I wouldn't buy covers that don't match. My Darker Shades of Magic series matches specifically because I bought the UK edition of A Darker Shade of Magic because it was on sale. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to buy the American covers. I'm going to buy the UK covers of A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light. So I'm buying matching covers. If somehow I like don't have matching covers, I would just suffer, because it would kill me slowly inside. Number 5 is everyone and their mother loves a book that you really don't like. Who do you bond with over shared feelings? So my go-to person to talk about books in general with is either Cats and Camera or Graham Quigley. Cats and Camera and me have like basically the same reading tastes. So if I don't like a book, I'd probably go to her and be like, hey, did you like this book? Like the 5th season, like we both don't really like the 5th season, because of the second person. So like I can go to her and I can be like, hey, I really didn't like this book. And she'll probably be like, yeah, I didn't like that book either. And I'll be like, yes. Number 6 is you're reading a book and you're about to start crying in public. How do you deal? I just cry and hope that nobody notices, because I'm not good at not crying. I'm very bad at not crying. I've cried many a times at work because of my anxiety. And yeah, I'm just not good at not crying. So I'm gonna cry and hope that nobody notices me crying, because if they do notice me crying, then they're gonna ask me why I'm crying, and I'm gonna have to tell them that it's this book that I'm reading that's sad, and I'd sound weird. So I'm just gonna hope that nobody notices. Number 7 is a sequel of a book you loved just came out, but you've forgotten a lot of the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, or cry in frustration? I want to say that I would just wing it and like go and read the sequel and see if I understand it. And then if I don't understand what's going on, then I would try and find like a synopsis, because I probably wouldn't reread the entire book just because it's a lot. Number 8 is you do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell people nope when they ask? So I usually don't have a problem with people borrowing my books. I have had bad experiences recently, where one person didn't take very good care of my book, and then the other person took literal months to give me the book back. So I am a little more wary about lending out my books now. But like if somebody really wants to read one of my favorite books and I trust them, then I would probably let them borrow my book. But if I don't know the person very well, a la the person I lent The Silence of the Girls to, and then got my copy back, and the dust jacket is all bent a little bit, and it just doesn't look as good now, I would be like, hey, sorry, I've had a bad experience in the past with people borrowing my books, so I don't feel comfortable lending them out to anybody anymore. Something like that. I don't know. I'm really bad at saying no to things. So that's the best I can come up with. Number 9 is reading ADD. You've picked up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? Okay, so this assumes that I would DNF 5 books in 1 month, which it just wouldn't happen. I would just suffer through the 1 book unless it was really awful, and then I would DNF it. But for this example, that's happened 5 times. What I usually do to get out of a reading slump, though, is that I find something that, like, really interests me. Like, I don't know. Like, right now, I'm not feeling contemporaries, so even though a lot of contemporaries really interest me, I would lean more towards fantasy and find a fantasy that looks super interesting to me. And then I would try and read that and hope that that would get me out of my reading slump. If that doesn't work, I'd probably try and read a graphic novel, And if that doesn't work, I'd probably reread one of my favorite books, just because why not? And then number 10 is there are so many new books coming out that you're dying to read. How many do you actually buy? Depends on how much money I have. So I do buy new releases. I'm not very good with my money that way. But recently I have like no money, so like I can't buy new releases. So right now I would probably buy none of them because I have no money. But like once I start getting paid, I'm probably gonna start buying a little bit of new releases. Maybe like 2. Number 11 is after you've bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelf before you get to them? And this is a complicated question because I have books that have been on my shelf for years, and then I have books that I like get and then immediately read. So it's kind of a toss-up as to which one happens. I usually, though, do try to read books that I buy fairly quickly after I buy them, so they don't sit on my shelf for years. Right now I have my desk dedicated to the books that I haven't read, so if that desk, like, it's starting to fill up, especially the bottom shelf. It's not as full as it was, but it's definitely pretty full. So I need to start reading books that I actually own instead of going to the library so much. But I just own a bunch of contemporary novels right now, and I'm like, but I don't want to read those right now. I want to read those later. Or I'm saving like one of them for a potential readathon. More on that later. But yeah, so they're probably not going to sit on my shelf for years. Probably only months at the most. The Alexander the Great series is just a special case that I have not gotten around to. I did try to read Fire from Heaven during the Book Junkie trials. Didn't go so well. I'll try it when I'm in a better mood for it, though, and not like feeling like I'm forced to read it. So yeah, we'll get to those books eventually. I'm not giving up on them yet, even though it's been like 4 years. And that is all of the questions. I have rambled for far too long. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.